We'll get questions started with Thomas Galdenzi. Your line is now live.
Hey, it's Thomas Galdenzi with Combat Sports Coverage. And I was just wondering, how you feeling heading into this fight with JJ, who is a submission specialist?
I'm feeling great. I've been in there with a lot of top guys throughout my training camp, and the best me is yet to come out and show what he can do in the cage. So I'm feeling great, man.
And how was your training camp for this fight with COVID-19? What was the biggest problem that it probably played into your training camp than normal?
For me, nothing. It actually got a little better. I spent the time throughout COVID kind of just seeing where I was going to kind of lay roots, and I decided to do that in Denver. But before I decided on Denver, I was quarantined with AJ Matthews, and me and him got our thug tie on, and I grew a lot during the quarantine. So I think that it was a kind of a blessing in disguise for me to be able to slow down, not be fighting as much, and grow as a fighter. So it was all positive things.
Well, thank you so much, and I look forward to your fight.
Solid.
Great. Our next question will go to Brian Woodman. Brian, your line is now live.
How do you do? My name is Brian Woodman. I'm with Nutmeg MMA.
How's it going?
How you doing, sir? Thank you for your time. How do you feel your wrestling is going to stack up against your opponent's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
Look, at the end of the day, he hasn't had anybody on top of him beating the shit out of him, and that's what it's going to boil down to. I've been in there with guys like Emmanuel Sanchez, and at the end of the day, it took Sanchez a while to decipher what I was doing on the top and how I was doing it. And if I choose to take this fight to the ground, there is absolutely nothing JJ Wilson will be able to do to stop me. I think that he gives up position a lot, and I think that he tries to be a little bit too jiu-jitsu and too slick. It's a fight. It's not a jiu-jitsu match. It's not a wrestling match. So I think that if it did come down to it, my wrestling would destroy his BJJ skills in a heartbeat.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Our next question will come from the line of Brian Peters. You're now live.
Hi, this is Brian Peters from All Access MMA. Just a quick question. Obviously, all of your professional fights have been in Bellator. Do you plan to spend your entire career in the promotion? And what makes Bellator such a great place to work as a fighter?
Yeah, I actually do plan on, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's always been my motto. So they've been treating me well since I've been in the promotion. I've gotten fair fights. I've been getting pushed with the right fights. I've also been getting, fights that are supposed to help me grow, like the Sanchez fight and fights of that nature. And I'd like it because at the end of the day, I can do as much coding as I want to do and still be one of the top fighters in the organization. And that's something that I love. So I plan on sticking around for years to come. As long as I put those gloves on and step into that cage, I plan on having a Bellator B on them.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Our next question comes from Steve Jewin. Steve, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Taiwan, as always, thank you for the time. And I want to know, earlier on the call, JJ said he couldn't rate your jiu-jitsu at all. And you seem a little fired up right now. So I'm wondering if that got leaked to you and what your response to that would be.
I didn't know that, but you want to know what I am? I'm a white belt that's about to whoop your ass. Simply put, that's how you rate my jiu-jitsu. I'm a white belt in jiu-jitsu, but I'm a black belt in whooping ass. So, he can say what he wants to say, but again, there's levels, and he's never fought anybody like me. He's never felt anybody like me. You know, he'll realize. I know he has slick BJJ. You know, I've seen him on guys' backs. I know that if he gets the back, it's a problem, but he has to get to my back first, you know, and then if he gets there, we've got answers. But at the end of the day, you know, the kid's biting off more than he can chew, and all he's doing is pissing me off, you know. So I just can't wait till Friday, and we'll rate his jiu-jitsu, you know, when somebody's on top of him trying to murder him.
Do you think you might have a little Fortnite dance for him, something like we saw in Sioux Falls?
I think I'm going to talk to him the whole time. I'm going to tell him that a white belt's doing this to you. You know, I think that's what I'm going to do.
All right. Well, we look forward to it. Thank you, Taiwan.
For sure.
Our next question comes from the line of Matthew Putterman. Your line is now live.
Hey, Taiwan. Matthew Putterman from MyMMAnews.com. What was your biggest takeaway from your fight with Emmanuel Sanchez?
Don't force wrestling. You know, don't force wrestling, and then that I need to be a swordsman. You know, there's a long sword and there's a short sword, and I needed to have both. I only have one. I now have both. You know, when you have both, you can be a little bit more comfortable. And then, you know, it's just being comfortable in, like I said, the long distance and the short distance. I'm comfortable in both. I don't need to force my wrestling. I am prepared to stand and bang for 15 minutes if absolutely necessary, and positioning and just not settling in any bad positions. So that Sanchez fight taught me a lot. You know, that was invaluable, I don't know, 9 minutes, 10 minutes or whatever that I spent in the cage with him. So I'm grateful for that fight. And I just know how to really balance my energy and conserve, you know, my energy to really get to the end of every fight, no matter how rough or how tough it is.
And I asked a lot of the other guys before too, but obviously now suffering your first loss as a professional, you know, what motivates you more, coming off of a loss or coming off of a win from a fighter's perspective?
Well, definitely coming off a loss. I mean, you got beat up in front of the whole world. So, you know, that's as much motivation as you need to get back in the gym and start training again and you know, rebuild yourself back up. And I feel like that's what I'm doing right now. I'm back on the building process. And I've taken the steps necessary to really go out there and show that I'm on a different level.
And as you see the Bellator Featherweight World Grand Prix is kind of like on a pause at the moment, and once that comes back and once it resumes, who do you have winning the tournament?
Who do I have winning it?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't even know who's in the tournament anymore that I'm not in it. So I don't really pay attention to it that much. You know, for me, it's all about, I've never been a fan. You know, I've never been a fan of anything that I'm competing in. I never watch anything that I compete in. I literally just started watching fights, you know, 2 or 3 months ago. So I like Caldwell, man. I like Caldwell because I seen him beat Metcalf at the NCAA finals. So that's a name that I know. That's a name that I'll roll with.
My last question for you is, you know, what's your biggest attribute as a fighter?
Probably my good looks. No, I'm joking. If I'd probably have to say, you know, at this point, it will probably be athleticism, you know, but my IQ is a close second. You know, I have a pretty big IQ already outside the cage, and it's starting to translate over inside. And so I think as I get more experience, my IQ is going to be what sets me apart from all the rest of these guys. But right now, I think it's a little bit of, you know, athleticism and a little bit of the IQ put together.
That's all I got for you. Thank you very much, man.
All right, we'll do a couple more questions. Next one, we'll go to Ben Kiley. Your line is now live.
Hi, Tom. Your opponent is undefeated. Do you think that him having not tasted defeat will be a disadvantage? You already said that you get more motivation coming off a defeat.
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, your opponent for this fight is undefeated. Do you think that that's going to work against him? As you already said, that you get more motivation coming off of a defeat.
Yeah, well, I'm coming off a win. I've
Yeah.
tasted defeat before, but yeah, I think that you don't know what you don't know until you don't know it, right? And at the end of the day, I've said it once and I've said it twice. He's good at jiu-jitsu, but no one's been on top of him trying to kill him. And I'm not too impressed with the guys that he's fought. You got guys trying to put rubber guard inside of a fight. Your last fight's against a guy that's 4-5, the fights before that, you've been fed, simply put. And so at the end of the day, I'm going to show him what happens when, you walk into a cage with somebody who really wants to hurt you, who doesn't care about being hurt, who's already lost, who doesn't have anything to protect, any record to protect. And there's levels, and it's going to play against him. I think he's a little arrogant right now. And, he has a reason to be. He's undefeated, right? No man has ever bested him, but I think he's about to meet his maker.
And how is the coding coming along?
Really good, man. I actually just launched my blog today and launched a new site, and it's coming along pretty great. I'm about to come out in the next 2 months. I'm going to have my beginners coding series for, kids that don't have access to everything, to teaching and to different resources. I'm coming out with just my own line of coding series and blog tutorial videos, and it's really great. My new site is live. Literally just went live about an hour and a half ago. EricClaxton.com. Check it out. Check the blogs on it, and it's a dope site. It's a real dope site, man. So I'm happy to be able to provide those resources and give back to kids that kind of grew up like I grew up with shit, and just kind of find a way to make something out of nothing. So thanks for asking. I appreciate that.
No worries. Thanks for answering my question, Simon.
For sure.
All right, 2 more. Next one goes to John Eric Polai. Your line is now live.
Hi, Taiwan. How you doing?
Pretty good. You?
I'm good, man. Thanks for asking. So my first thing for you, I know that you're originally from Ohio and you started off your training out there in Ohio. I recently saw on your Instagram that you're out in Denver, Colorado. How long have you been training out there in Colorado?
I've been out in Colorado for about 5-6 weeks. 5 or 6 weeks. Yeah.
So why did you make that change to start training out there, and how have you seen yourself improve since you've made that change?
Simply put, one of my really good friends just kind of put it in perspective for me. Kamaru Usman's a good friend of mine, always been a good friend of mine. He just said, look, man, you don't know enough to be your own coach. Go join a team. And so I was on my way to Vegas, spent some time with my boy AJ Matthews, and I stopped in Colorado to see Carrington Banks and ended up training that Elevation Fight team for about a week before I went back to Vegas. I had got to Vegas and then decided to turn around and go back to Colorado and call that home. So got great partners to work out there with, and it's good to be able to walk into a gym and just be able to train, and leave the gym and know that tomorrow when I go there, I'm going to have great bodies to work with, like Dober, like Gapey, Magny, Austin Hubbard, you name them. I'm sparring with all these guys on a regular basis now. And, when I go home, I can kind of cut my brain off and I don't have to plan my next workout and I don't have to pick up workout partners and, all the things that I was doing while I was in Cleveland, I just don't have to do anymore. So it's freed up a lot of my mental space and allowed me to really just focus on fighting. And that's why I decided to make Colorado home.
And when it comes to your fighting style, like we know the wrestling background that you have, but we've seen the flying knee, which was incredible, by the way. And we've seen you get loose with the hands and start throwing your hands a lot. Do you feel that you're more than just a wrestler that's kind of picking up the stand-up game? Do you feel that you're this well-rounded fighter that's comfortable wherever the fight may go?
Absolutely. Over this quarantine, I developed a ground game, a bottom game. I've spent months with AJ Matthews. I keep saying his name because he deserves all the credit that he can get. I've spent months with AJ Matthews working on my stand-up, working on my thug tie, and then I'm at elevation now, and I'm training with some of the best guys. Gaethje's pushing me every day. I've got rounds and rounds and rounds with champions, and so I'm way more comfortable on my feet. Anybody that knows my wrestling knows that I was a problem on my feet, and on the ground I was okay, but on my feet I could go with the best guys in the world, and I think I've proven that clearly in MMA. But I'm way more than just a wrestler, and I think that people are going to start to see it the more comfortable that I get. But I am getting a lot comfortable in that cage. I think that time is the only thing that helps.
All right, and with that, we'll let Taiwan go, and we'll bring Jordan Main up next.